Hi, I'm 17, moved in with you sister after my parents kicked me out for coming out. Another story, they said I'll be here temporarily till I get back to normal, which I don't think I will, lol. But anyways, so I moved in with my sister and her husband about a month ago. FYI, she does everything around the house. I started helping here and there, as well as looking after a 2-year-old niece, and now she's 6 months pregnant. Bill does nothing because he's the breadwinner as he claims, but he's taken it a bit too far. E.g., he'd tell her to start his laundry once he takes off his clothes, put dinner on the table once he's home, get the shower ready, and so on. They fight a lot cause my sister is exhausted and burnt out. I usually put my headphones on and mind my own business, but 2 nights ago there was a lot of commotion once Hart home, so I went to see what the issue was. Turns Bill was complaining about dinner and my sister was too exhausted to get up. I mean, the dinner was already cooked, but he wanted her to put it for him on the table. I told my sister I'd do it, but instead of using their kitchen utensils, I used my niece's toy utensils like toy cup, toy plate, toy fork and knife, and a tiny napkin. I put the food on the toy plate and the drink in the toy cup while Bill was in the shower. He then came into the kitchen and sat down and stared at the plate for few seconds. He then looked at me and asked what the hell this was, and whether I was joking. I told him if he wanted to act like a helpless child, then he might as well get treated like one. He began yelling and my sister came inside. He then threw the napkin and stormed off upon saying that I disrespected him and that he'll let my parents know about what I did. My sister saw what I'd done and started laughing. I went inside my room, but the argument didn't stop. Now he's expecting an apology for me for meddling in his marriage and pulling this crappy stunt on him. I could be tough for this, but I was just so mad for my sister and also sick and tired of being sick and tired of the nightly fighting over dinner. Next story. English is not my first language. This is not the us. The streaming devices prices are really up here. I'll try to keep it short. My 25M mom passed away 4 years ago, and one of the things my dad, 65M, clanged ever since was movies. They really enjoyed doing it together, so I guess he took comfort on keeping the activity on his own. At that time my sister, 32F, got a 2-screen Netflix subscription and gave one to my dad so he could use it whenever she wanted. During those 4 years I was able to get pretty much all of the rest, and since my sister was paying for my dad's Netflix, I thought I gave one of the screens to use. So no biggie. I've been out of town ever since New Year's Eve and I finally came back home a week ago. I told my dad that we should see a movie together in Netflix or some, but he said that Netflix wasn't working. I found it odd, so I asked what he meant while taking his phone. He said that he asked my sister a few months ago, but she said that it wasn't working, so they'd to wait for it to work. I only hummed and tried to log in again, but it didn't let me, so I called my sister asking for the password. She said she couldn't share the account anymore because now that they had my nephew, 2M, they were using one of the screens for him and another for her husband. This enraged me. I asked her why she didn't told me before and why she lied to my dad. She said she didn't have the heart to tell him, and I told, "But you have the heart to lie to him, don't you?" and hang up. Since then I've gotten my dad a new Netflix account and I've changed all of my passwords so only my dad and I have them. 2 days ago she called saying that my Bill wanted to watch GOT, but the account kicked him out, and I told her, yeah, it was me. She flipped and asked for the password because they can't afford it on their own, and I said, well, I didn't have the heart to tell you, and I hang up the phone again. My Bill texted me calling me petty and my dad's oblivious to all of this. My sister called again and asked for the password of one of the platforms, you know, the children-friendly one. Because my nephew wants to see Encanto, and I said she has to apologize to my dad first, at least, and she said my nephew's discomfort is on me. Next story. I love my sons more than anything. I have 3. They were all raised to respect everyone regardless of their differences. My 21-year-old and my 19-year-old have that down great. My 16-year-old, however, is bullying a gay boy in his class, and I was less than happy when I found out. His cousin told me. I gave him the chance to invite him over for dinner and apologize, but he refused. He wouldn't say sorry at all. I get it, it's embarrassing being told off in front of your friends, but I don't care. I wasn't happy with his treatment. I ended up grounding him, but it didn't seem to be affecting him at all, and he clearly wasn't learning his lesson. I contacted the family and let them know what was going on, and they agreed to meet up for dinner, and again I gave my son a chance to apologize. He got extremely upset, angry, maybe both, and said that nobody even liked the F word. Of course I apologized and the family left. My son and I got into a big argument when they left where he said he wasn't sorry and again that nobody likes this kid. I told him that I don't like him very much right now either. He got quiet, apologized and went to his room. I've now been told that he's apologized to the student he was bullying and his grounding has been lifted. He's still hiding in his room and we very rarely speak. My ex-husband says I shouldn't have told him I don't like him and that there's no excuse, and of course that behavior is the reason we're not together, because I can't help but be a miserable I understand it may not have been the nicest thing to hear, but he was not listening to a word I was saying and was being a downright bully. Next story. I do photography as a side business. Because I have a 9-to-5, I do it mostly on the weekends, and usually my clients are friends and family or were recommended to me by friends or family. My specialty is newborn babies, but I happily photograph kids and babies of any age. However, newborn photo shoots have to be done in the first 7 to 10 days. Babies older than that fight the poses too much for it to be done safely, and I refuse to do anything that could hurt the baby. One of my good friends had a baby 3 weeks ago. At her baby shower in January, I gave her a cute little coupon for a free newborn shoot. This wasn't part of her gift but rather a friendly gesture since it's her first baby, and I had done the same thing for her sister a few years ago. When the baby was born, I congratulated her, and asked her when she wanted me to take the pictures. She never answered me until a couple days ago and asked if next weekend was okay. I took a little while to think of a response and ended up calling her to explain that the baby is too old now to safely do a newborn shoot, but that I would be happy to come and take some family photos, and maybe do a 1-month mini session with a couple cute outfits. She complained that I should still do the newborn poses since that's what I told her I would do before the baby was born, and that she wanted pictures of her baby like I took of her sister's baby. I said again that I wasn't comfortable doing something that wouldn't be safe for the baby, and that I took the pictures of her sister's baby when it was 4 days old, not 4 weeks old, that the situation would be different if the baby was still actually a newborn. Next story. I don't know where to begin. All of this is petty on my part and I'm fully aware of it. I'm having a hard time thinking I could even remotely be wrong, which is why I'm here. I'm 29F and my fiance, Martin, is 30 meters. His sister is 46 and she has an 11-year daughter. I also have 2 sons, aged 11 and 8. The youngest is odd diagnosed, as well has ADD. My fiance's sister's kid is ADHD and autism spectrum, which she has her kid on numerous medications for. It's often a giant pissing contest when I get around his sister because she feels she is better than me in a parent sense because she has her child on meds that help her, turns her into a walking zombie is more like it. And I refuse to have my child medicated until he is older, as his doctor stated his behaviors could get better over time. So she thinks she is a better mom than me. My kids are not biologically my fiance's. Anyways, his sister is disgusting. Both filthy and over-opinionated. I lived with her briefly 4 years ago and she bled me dry of all the money I had. All while claiming she was doing me a favor. 3 months and she made me give her almost $9,000 for food, housing, oil costs. She just became homeless because she never paid her bills, owed over $12,000 in land tax and her home was foreclosed. Sorry, but this isn't my problem. I have enough to worry about without her and her child living with me, making me feel like my house is no longer mine. I also refuse to let her stay with us because when my mother became homeless last year, after the landlord sold the house she was living in with no notice and was given a 14-day notice to quit, with my sister, 18, and my sister's newborn baby. My fiancé said he didn't want them moving in because it would be too much, and he didn't want to deal with it. His sister has places to go. My mother and sister didn't. My sister and mom were forced to sleep in a car for over a month because he wouldn't even let them stay a night here. So when he told me his sister and his niece needed a place to go, I said, "That fucking sucks. That's it." He then started saying, "I told them if they needed to they could come here." So I said, "Well, you better call her back and say no because they aren't staying in my house. This is technically my house. Bought it before I met him and he only pays his bills." He says I'm being heartless. I told him I don't care, especially given the fact that he wouldn't let my mom and sister stay here for even one night. Next story. I hit a breaking point last night. My fiance comes from filth. His whole family is absolutely disgusting in a sense of they can be surrounded by garbage and still think it's normal. His family home, which has been given to his sister, has an entire garage that is currently being used as a dumpster, and every single corner of her home is packed up tighter than a bull's ass with nothing but clutter, dog hair, dead mice. You cannot see the floors in any of the 8 rooms this home has. It's not a hoarding issue. It's a "I don't want to clean" issue. So this is what he is used to. I claim that I have been bullshitted because when my fiance and I got into a place, he was exhibiting signs of a clean person. As in always cleaned up after himself, and our home never looked even remotely close to that of his family home, and he did help me clean frequently. Like I said, I have now hit a breaking point, and I'm pretty certain he only did this to make me think he was better than that. In the past year he has done the dishes twice. He has cleaned once. If he cooks, which is incredibly rare, he leaves everything he uses out on the table, full milk jugs, butter, cheese, etc., and dirties every pan in the house. I have brought it up several times. I'm not a fucking maid. I shouldn't have to put things away that he fails to put away after using. Even if he makes himself cereal, he will still leave both the cereal and the milk on the counter versus walk 5 steps to put it away. He will take his dirty clothes off and kick him over by our dresser versus put them in the camper behind him. He will leave his dirty clothes in the bathroom for weeks until I finally cave and do the cleaning myself. When I mention how trashed the house is, he says it isn't even that bad. When I get pissed and start rage cleaning, he makes comments asking me to calm down. Other than this, the man is great. Treats me great, loves me unconditionally. So last night I woke up around 1 a.m. and found milk on the counter again. At this point it was warm, so I assume it had been there for hours. I lost it. I was so tired of telling him to pick up after himself that I told him to go move back into the pig pen that he came from. It wasn't just the milk. It was also all of his clothing bags and travel bags that were strewn all over the kitchen, as well as finding the dog had been left out of the kennel and got into the garbage, and the cat had dragged his dirty clothing from the bathroom into her litter box. He says I'm acting irrationally, and he simply forgets, because he has ADHD, undiagnosed, so there's that.